Conversation, Season 2. So in our first season, we were talking to people who'd come out, transgender people of all sorts, and listening to their coming out stories. Now it's time to move on. So now I want to focus on those individuals in our community who are making an attempt to bring about change or to better create or better support our group, our society. So, my location is not where I wanted it to be. Unfortunately, there's no way I could do it where I live, so this is the best I can do. Tonight, we're going to be talking to Julia Raw Jules, and I'm going to bring her on right now. And I'm going to talk to Julia about some of the things that she's working on. So here she is.
Hello, hello.
My good friend, Julia. Okay, real quick, let's do a sound check. Can I hear you? Can you hear me? I can hear you just fine.
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, fabulous. So, Julia, if you would please introduce yourself. Let everybody know, like there's anyone who doesn't know who you are. But go ahead and introduce yourself while I get situated.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Julia. I am a transgender woman. I am 30 years old. I came out in April of 2018, and I started hormones on July 30th of last year. So that makes...
And that's 2018 or 2017?
2018. I started hormones like 15 months ago. I can't do that right now.
Fortunately, no one on here is required. And I would like to do a special shout out to Gratefully Jen, who is home from surgery today. So the fact that she's joining us in this show is just amazing. So, Julia.
Me?
Raw Jules.
Me.
Yes, you. So I want to I'm going to keep these shows to half an hour because we'll be fine. We should have plenty of time. If we run over, we'll keep going. But I want to keep them to a half an hour because the hour format seemed to lose people. So we're going to try something else. So let's start the whole reason I have you on this new creation. Jules story. Hashtag Jules story. So tell me, what was the genesis of hashtag Jules story?
So I participate in a local support group here in Boston, and one of the things that we've done frequently after every meeting, we meet up and we have drinks after, and I feel like that format was always a little better than the sort of round robin style, going around the room chatting. And one of the things that I realized out to drinks with so many people was the people that I formed the best connections with were the people who were telling stories, people who wanted to talk about specific events, things that they were like either on the precipice of, they were just about to come out at work and they were nervous about something, or they just did and they wanted to gush about some story. So I feel like this was sort of an evolution of what I was already doing in person with people. It's best to connect with people over their stories. It's going to form more lasting bonds.
Okay, that's completely understandable. I think an extension of who we are now. I'm going to ask a question I was going to ask later, but because you brought it up, I want to come to it. Julia Chat. Julia Chat was something I've talked to you about. It's something that I know you've done. Tell us a little bit about what that was. And then I also want to know, well, let's start with that. Tell us what Julia Chat is for the Boston area.
So I obviously participated in Reddit and maybe a little bit of Instagram by the time I had been going to the support group. But something that I felt was off about it was just this, like, sure, you can connect with people on the internet and when they exist in the computer, it's like, well, they can only be so so supportive or so like you recognize people, but there's not this there's a different sense of community when you're in something like that. And my personal experience with Reddit is there are so many more opportunities for there to be kind of like disgusting people jumping in. And so Julia Chat was something that I just started. If you can tell, I'm not very creative with naming. I had one clever moment where I was like, "Ooh, Raw Jules is kind of cool," and then now everything is just named Julia. If I came up with it, it's just Julia something. So
hey, that's fine. Sorry, I need to just put the.
Well, that's all good. So what I wanted to do is I was racing around at the end of every meeting trying to get people's numbers so that we could continue hanging out or put together events, that kind of thing. And I was just like, we need basically a bulletin board for this thing. And I asked the support staff if they were going to be able to do it, and they were like, there's like legal concerns. We'd have to like moderate it if it was official and all this. So it was just like, all right, well, do you mind if I just use this as a platform to say I have this personal chat outside of Fenway Health that I'd be able to just connect with people. And that way, people, if they join something like a Slack channel, they don't feel quite as awkward about like, oh, I just met you. I don't know if you're weird. I don't want to give my phone number to you. I just wanted it to be a way that people could start chatting and
Right.
events together and see people in real life and make that happen. So.
And with some kind of safety too.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
right.
because you can have that chat, you can have that connection, but you never really know what you're getting. But
right.
with a forum like yours that is more controlled, you have an environment where people can trust to open up to other people. Okay.
So I just give out like invite codes at the end of every meeting. So it's only the people who are in that room, and that gives it some semblance of safety. That like if this is the only place in the whole world that they're out and they're using a new name or new pronouns, they can sort of feel safe to the idea that if they were comfortable using it in that room, they're going to be comfortable using it in this space as well.
That's good. So would you say that Jules Stories, I keep doing it, I'm sorry, hashtag Jules Stories is an extension of what you were doing there, or is it something completely different? Is it like the natural progression?
I'd say that they're parallel missions. The difference probably being that Julia Chat is intended for a very specific physical location of people to get together and eventually share stories, whereas Jules Stories is more like the broad market Instagram, everyone come together, tell your stories, connect with those. These are the people who either want to tell stories of how they have gotten to where they are, or people who are looking to read and be inspired and gain the courage to do it themselves, to realize that it's not just something in fantasy land, it's actual real people with real lives making this happen.
And yeah, they're going out there and they're getting it done, and that really is a wonderful thing. And that brings me to my next question, is what do you see as success for Jules Stories? What would you mark as a benchmark for success for this endeavor?
So I want to I just want so much for the community to it's not so much like, even if this hashtag ends up dying tomorrow, it's not gonna kill me. The whole point that I want to do is get people confident about themselves and realizing that, again, we're not alone in this, and to bring people together and to make the community feel more like real people in the real world rather than fancy pictures that you see on the internet. and
Right.
and like
Highly edited.
exactly. And I'm guilty of highly editing my photos too, but I usually try to
Wait,
put some decent content with it.
wait till you see mine tomorrow. Okay, so
Looking forward to it.
it's a wonderful goal. To connect that. I'm gonna skip over again to the next question. What do you see as the next step for Jewel Stories? I know that you don't see just the sharing of stories as the end result. I know there's another level that you wanted to achieve with this, and maybe it's a separate entity or it's just an extension of this. But what I it personally I think it's a great idea, and I'd love to have you share with everyone.
Yeah. No, something that I want to eventually start doing is maybe announce a theme in advance of um, one of these weekends. I'm thinking Mondays because they generally tend to be, at least in my experience,
Sluggish.
the ones where like Tuesdays explode with stuff. So like we're done the weekend and Mondays are a slog. Nobody really wants to be at work. At least anyone I speak to, they're like the. So I'm thinking like every 2 weeks, maybe every 3 weeks, put like a theme out, and I had a few like different elements of coming out stories. If you have specific ones for how you approached it with family or friends or work, they're very different stories I've found. Um, and each of them can individually be extremely exciting or anxiety inducing or any level of other things. Or something like if you've been out in public and you wanted to uh, like give a shout out to something, like another theme could be giving a shout outs to places that you've been that you feel really comfortable with, or like you went to, taking out of my experience, you went to a Sephora makeup thing and they were super sweet about it. They made everything about how this was all about um, your comfort, and you necessarily need to feel comfortable, so they made you feel comfortable. Um, those types of things. We can come up with themes as we go that can evolve, obviously, but those are the two ones that immediately jump to mind for things that I want
Right.
to do. Yeah.
Okay. Now, you were talking to me about the mentor-mentee idea. Um, talk a little bit about that, because I think this is a great idea, and I think we have a lot of really strong people on Instagram that could really be instrumental in this. So, tell me, what is this idea?
So this is something that I kicked off really early with Jewel Stories, and I've not yet done the post that I really wanted to do on it. I'm still
Okay.
trying to organize
Would you
it.
would you like to wait?
No, it's okay. I can announce
Okay.
what I'm trying to do. I'm sorry that it's taken me so long. There are people who answered that poll, like 2 weeks ago now. Basically, I wanted to force this like binary question. I know everyone is sort of along some spectrum of the journey that I wanted to force a question. It's like, do I feel like I generally want to help, like, or be somebody that people can reach out to ask questions of, or people who are interested in sort of assuming more of a mentee role where I'm just at the beginning of this. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know anybody in the community. I want to amplify those voices. I want those people to be able to um, have the visibility that people who want this more mentor role can actually be the ones to potentially even reach out and initiate those conversations. Because I know that it's so scary, especially at the beginning. Like, I there are so many people on here that I was intimidated by, and then I met them in person, and I'm like, oh, you're just like me, you're a total goof. And people to know that that's me. You can reach out to me. I want I wanted the flag to be sort of a, you know, the Jewel Stories flag to be like a beacon of hope, a beacon of like, I can reach out to this person and they're gonna be understanding. It's a safe space, and I know that there's a dozen different things out there on Instagram already. Um, for like, I think there's a rainbow flag one that says it's safe to come out to me and all that kind of thing. But um, I kind of wanted it to be all in this one project where there's like telling stories, we're reaching out to one another, we're coming up with content together as a community that is all in this one sort of. We can just scroll through the hashtags. Like, I just need inspiration today. I want to read all these different things that are specific. Because if you jump into any of the other trans hashtags that I'm aware of, at least, it's sort of a hodgepodge. You might get a post that has like um, a little bit of content, but it's mostly just um, a pose or an outfit or something. Those are great,
Right.
but sometimes you just really want all kinds of like either really positive content, or you want to find somebody who has been having just down on their luck, and like, I want to talk to you about how much this sucks, because sometimes
Right.
it really sucks, and that's valid too. There's ways of getting through this, and I choose the path of relentless optimism.
And that brings us to the next question. Well segued there, Julia. Relentless optimism. You talk about it all the time. It's almost like you have notes. Uh,
Uh,
so, now let's talk about this, because relentless optimism is something that has been going around. People have been talking about it all the time, especially you, and Jen, and myself, and there are so many others too. What does relentless optimism mean to you? Because I've heard you explain it, and I still struggle with getting my head around it. So I'm sure somebody who hasn't heard the explanation from you is just like, well, it just means to not give up, but
yeah.
that's not really all of it. So tell me, where did it come from, and what does it mean to you?
Yeah. So I'm gonna try to answer it in sort of a story format. I don't have an exact definition.
Okay.
It's so I was at a really really low point, and it ended up not taking very long to get from my lowest point of my entire life to some semblance of, my cat's gonna knock over my iPad.
It's
Hi,
Bob,
buddy.
right?
Yes, Bob.
Bob. I
Say
love
hi to
the
the
name
whole internet,
Bob.
buddy.
All
Say hi to
20
the whole
of us.
internet. Oh, go buddy. Um. Well, almost on cue. My little support animal is here to get me through the hard part.
Okay.
So my at a really low point. I came out to my wife at the time, and within hours we were talking about possibly getting divorced. Um, and I had just come out to my brother a short while before this, and he supported me so fully. We had a whole gorgeous, wonderful afternoon together, and uh, he he um, he gave me the confidence that I needed to go forward. And I sort of attribute a lot of my ability to keep charging onward to his support. I needed that. Some people are able to go it alone. Hugely advocate for finding just at least one person that you can cling on to. There's going to be somebody in this world who can do that for you. And so with the idea of divorce, I had become so codependent on marriage that things like my student loans I had not worried about for God knows how long, and I had no idea where I was gonna come up with sufficient money to live in Boston on my own, because the last time I tried to do it alone, market prices were far lower for apartments. I had a lot more options for roommates. Everyone was getting married and pairing off, or they had been living with the same people for 7+ years, and so I felt totally out of my depth. My father had passed, and we sold my childhood home. My mom moved out to Ohio, so I left basically my brother, and his living situation couldn't accommodate. So it's like, hadn't received a promotion at my job for 3 years. I felt like I was just floundering, and so I needed to find a place that could accommodate me and my cat, and I could be masculine presenting for the next 6 to 8 months, maybe a year. I didn't know how long it was going to take me, but I couldn't be like, hey, let's just hang out with the girls, because here I am, a dude, showing up and being like, hey, thinking of going by Julia at some point. Is that cool? So I was terrified, and there's a little bit of a content warning. I'm not going to get too graphic, but I was suicidal through this next point. So if you're feeling uncomfortable, probably about 30 seconds to a minute, and you can come back in. So that day when I spoke with my ex-wife, I was just totally wrecked. I laid on the couch, and I was at the lowest point that I've ever been in my entire life. And I sort of understand the sort of juxtaposition here. I am sitting in a luxury apartment, and I still have a roof over my head, and it's not like I'm being kicked out thrown on the street or any of that kind of thing. But I'm stuck in this dread of like, oh no, did I just ruin my life? Am I gonna possibly be homeless? I have no idea. Because I wasn't out of work, I just started the ball rolling, and all of the fear came in. So I was laying on the couch, and all these thoughts start coming in my head of how I could kill myself. And what I did was I just stayed still. I didn't move. I didn't do anything. I just knew if I stayed on the couch and didn't move, I would be okay. And credit to my wife, she knew something was up, because I didn't come to bed. I just stayed on the couch. She worked from home the next day to keep an eye on me, but I barely even got up to I don't think I got up to go to the bathroom for 24 hours. I didn't eat anything. She tried to give me soup. I just let it sit out. It was awful. I was so miserable. And so that was April 24th, 2018. A month goes by. We start doing stuff. Like I said, my brother was a huge advocate for me right at the beginning. I came out to him, and he started latching. It was hard for him. He struggled. It wasn't all gumdrops and rainbows for him either. It took him some time to get over this idea that he doesn't have a brother anymore. He has a sister, and it took him some time with pronouns. But a brief aside here, when I told him my name, he's like, Julia, I don't know. I don't think I can do that. It's like, oh, damn it, really? Moments later, he's like, well, how about Jules? I was like, yes, of course, that's totally fine. Are you kidding me?
And hence the Jules story. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, maybe that's not. Yeah, I don't know. I was elated with that. See, I guess my brother gave me my. I mean, I interpreted it as like jewelry, jewels. That's why.
Yeah, that is very clever. Continue.
So anyway, I started apartment hunting. I was freaking out because again, cat, me, mask, to fem. I needed to find people in Boston that were willing to accept me and my cat, and was going to be close enough to where I worked, and all this stuff. And then maybe a month and a half into that freak out, I started coming out to my friends, and one of my really close friends of high school mentioned to me, oh, our other high school friend, our mutual friend, is also looking for a roommate. And I was like, oh, are you kidding me? Yes.
Or
So I reached out to him, and that night he was like, oh my god, yeah, totally, let's room together. We'll go apartment shopping. And so that worked out. Um, I couldn't possibly put that together on my own. Um, and then I continued looking for. Before I came out, I started interviewing at a company, and then I finally got hired. And my start date was August 13th. So it was like right before we were like separated. My wife and I decided to stay together and live through the end of the lease, and then we would just sort of clean break it after that point. And then shortly thereafter, we got the official divorce. We went through the court procedure and all that in October. But I got a promotion. I got a new job. I got something, a small woman-owned business that ended up ultimately being. I took a gamble a little bit, but I got paid a lot more. I had better responsibilities, and again, it's not anything I could have um, possibly planned for or expected. And then I started HRT at the end of July. It's a little out of order. And I did laser, and things were starting to come together. And so from the end of April to the beginning of September, that was only a little over 4 months, the amount of time that I went from my lowest point to feeling very happy with where I was going. I was like, I knew where I was living. I September 1st, I went on the first date with Steph. If everyone saw or wait, no. What am I talking about? That was a year ago.
It was a year later.
My bad.
I was like, Steph was September 1st of
September 1st the next
this year. Yeah. So I was like, you're a year. Because this is the last time we actually talked. Is Transfiguration started with you and Steph, and your coming out stories, and then now we're starting again 1 month later. So.
Yeah, sorry, I was like, oh, September 1st, oh my god, something else happened.
Yeah, something else happened. No. Yes, it did, but no.
So my whole point is, relentless optimism, I was just doing everything I could to remain optimistic. I know something's going to break. I know I can find something. I climbed out of this hole. I can't possibly fall back into it. And in 4... Yes, Steph, I can't help but bring you up. Because you're awesome. In 4 short months, my life went from being this terrifying moment to being amazing. So that's... I don't have a definition for it, but that's the feeling.
Okay.
That's the... Just keep going, because...
It could be right around, everything could be right around the corner. That's truly wonderful. Now, I want to keep going because I don't want to lose momentum, but who inspires you? Who or what inspires you besides whom? Whom are you inspired by?
Somebody who ridiculously me is Charlie Martin. If you don't follow her, it's @GoCharlieM, her last initial. She is an incredible trans woman. She's one of the first people that I started following. She had YouTube videos, and she was talking about all kinds of things that I experienced along the way, like hormone months and the questions on whether or not you do certain surgeries, facial feminization, breast augmentation, or bottom surgery, those kinds of things. And I loved her raw realism. She posted about being low, she posted about being high, and she made this all about it's gonna be okay. And um, then years into it, she's just living the life that she always wanted to live, and she quit her job, and she always had a passion for racing, so she's near and dear to my heart. And then she just changed her channel to all of her race content. So that's like incredibly inspiring to me. She was, again, that's Go Charlie M, Charlie Martin. I'm blown away by her, and if if I ever get the opportunity to meet her in real life, I think I'm gonna squeeze the hardest I've ever in my entire life. And if I could possibly get on the racetrack with her,
you'd have a tiny little orgasm.
This wouldn't be so tiny, love.
Okay. So, all right.
Got it, Vanessa.
Now I want to come back to you help so many new people, so many new eggs. I'm gonna switch up my questions again because I wrote them down as they came to me, but the order is sequencing in my head right now, so I'm gonna switch it up. When I talk to you and I hear you talking about all the new people that you're talking to and dealing with, I can't help but think of you as like the mother hen. You're the mother hen, and all these eggs are your children, and or the patron saint of the freshly cracked egg. These are terms that constantly run through my mind when I'm talking about you or talking to you. So why do you feel the need? Well, first off, do you deny that that is a true sentiment of your character?
I would never self-ordain, but I like.
That's what you have me for.
I super appreciate it. It's what I'm going for. I want people to feel comfortable around me. I want people to know that this is safe. This is going to be okay. And yeah, I want to give people that courage. That's okay. That's my goal.
Okay. And then that brings us to, why do you feel so personally invested in bringing about, helping these folks? Why?
Yeah.
Why is it something that's so important to you?
It's pretty selfish of me, but I just really love being happy. And something that watching people bloom. They start this kind of awkward, like, people will show up to group and they'll be like, "Hi, I'm Timothy. This isn't a real story. I'm just coming up with stuff.
I would hope
Timothy.
not. I figured.
I'm, I guess, like, he, him today, but like maybe it's like months go by and then they're like, I'm here. My name is Tammy. I am large and in charge, and I'm gonna fuck you up."
Okay. And as a side note to that, when you and I met in Philadelphia, I cannot say how much you affected my own growth over that period. I found a confidence in myself that I didn't even know existed. I was silly, I was playful, but I wasn't really confident in myself. And then just after a couple of hours of knowing you, it was infectious. It really is. You have an incredible effect on those around you. And I think anybody who's spent any time with you would absolutely agree. Your energy is infectious. You're like the positivity plague. And it's very contagious. Shut up, go with it, okay?
Of all things to infect people with, I am pretty proud of that one.
Anyway, so I want to acknowledge that because that's important to me. You have significantly made a difference in my life, and it's a small handful of people who have. It's a very small handful. You and Jen and Samantha, the top three. And I'm different because I know you. And So I can, when I give you the idea, that moniker, the patron saint of the newly cracked egg, I'm quite serious. It is not a deprecating compliment at all. So, all right. Now I believe I had one more question, but I don't, for the life of me, know what it was. So,
I think there's only one more point that I wanted to make on this.
okay, go ahead. Go ahead and make more.
The moments that I love are those firsts that people get to experience. First time they try on a wig, the first time they put on makeup, or they go shopping. I want to be there and like metaphorically hold their hand, go up to the register and be like, this person is valid for being here. I want this person to know that they can be here without any worry or danger. In Boston, we were fairly privileged because basically I walked up fully mask presenting to in the end of December last year. I was just about to come out of work, and I was like, well, I need to buy a bunch of clothes so that I have like at least a week's worth of clothes. So I walk up to the register in dude mode with 12 like dresses and blouses and all this stuff. I was like, I'm trans, I'm about to come out, can I please go into this changing room? And they're like, oh my god, just go in there, that's fine. So I didn't have to deal with any of that, and they were super sweet. And I realized that that's unfortunately a privilege that I have that some people don't get to have just based on geography alone. But the moments that I have been able to bring somebody along and get to see them go through that first awkward experience, and then the next time they're just like, yeah, I mean, I'm pulling stuff off the rack on their own. It's like, it doesn't take very long. All it takes is one person to say, you're okay to be here. You let your inner diva out and just go hog wild, because nobody cares. I care that you're going to be happy. So,
right.
That's what I wanted to say.
Well,
people feel
incredible.
Isolated, and I want to make them not feel isolated.
And I think that's the whole point of what Transfiguration 2.0 is all about now. I want this to be about focusing on making those connections in our community. We have individuals like yourself who are making a difference, who are going out of their way, doing those little things, sometimes little, sometimes huge. Honestly, to me, Jewel Stories is a huge endeavor, and I hope you are strong. I hope it works out for you and that they don't overwhelm you, because I know you are a popular girl, and you're going to get a lot of it. It's going to be a lot of attention on this thing, but this has the potential of being amazing. So I do hope everything works out. I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Julia, thank you so much for joining me tonight on our inaugural voyage of Transfiguration 2.0. Mm-hmm. And is there anything you'd like to say in parting?
One thing. If you've reached out to me and I haven't gotten back to you, I'm going through them methodically. I want to try and answer everybody, but I am kind of inundated. So that's why I'm working on making this mentor-mentee thing happen, so that everyone can start connecting in the community, because I obviously can't do it alone. We're a thriving community. There's so many people who want to help. Please do continue to reach out to me. If you haven't yet, please do. I will get to it, I promise. It's just, oh, God. I'm also not a therapist. If you're coming to me looking for therapist-like advice, I'm always going to say that those types of relationships are more important. You need to have that physical connection with somebody who's a professional who can help you. And we're all doing it. I'm in therapy. I have been for 5+ years now, and I think it's critical. Please do that. Again, I'm going to make the same suggestion to you privately if it comes to that. So, love you all. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Julia. Yes, absolutely. Remember that Instagram is a peer-to-peer support network. The people here may be professionals, they may not be, but you don't have any accreditation that you can check up on right away. So please be mindful of your safety and your well-being when making these decisions. For tonight, thank you so much, Julia, for joining. I'm so pleased to have this started again. Please join me next week. I will be posting the time and date when I believe Victoria Maximus will be joining us to discuss the new endeavor that she is part of with Gratefully Jen and Kaylee Cake called We Happen to Be Trans. And until then, please remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, but never sacrifice your own well-being to support someone else. You can't love someone until you love yourself. So that's me getting off my soapbox.